We were together for 8 years, and I trusted her blindly. She was the one stable, secure part of my life. But when she started hiding her phone and deleting bank alerts, a tiny seed of suspicion began to grow in my mind. I expected she might be seeing someone else, but what she was doing was far worse than an affair. She was building a secret second house with my money, setting up an entirely new life to permanently escape ours. Was our whole life just an act? How could a wife weave such a massive web of lies against her own husband? Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. For 8 years, my wife Sarah and I had what I thought was an ironclad relationship. We built a beautiful home, established careers, and most importantly, we had complete shared control over our finances. Sarah was meticulous. She managed the budget down to the last penny, and I trusted her implicitly. She was the safe harbor in my life. The cracks started appearing about a year ago. Not 8 months, but a full year. They were so small, I initially dismissed them as stress. First, her phone became surgically attached to her hand. Before, it would sit on the kitchen counter for hours. Now, if she walked to the mailbox, the phone came with her. If I reached for it to check a notification, she'd snatch it back with a nervous laugh, saying, "Privacy, honey." The laughter never quite reached her eyes. Then came the money. It started with inexplicable cash withdrawals. Not $100 at the ATM. I'm talking about bank runs, where $1,500 or even $2,500 would vanish. When I logged into the joint account and asked her about the 3 separate $2,000 withdrawals over 4 weeks, she got instantly defensive. "It's business expenses, Alex. Stop auditing me. Do you think I'm lying to you?" The accusation stung more than the missing money. I tried to ignore it. I truly did. I kept telling myself, she's stressed. Maybe she's buying me a surprise. But the feeling of paranoia was a sickness in my gut. It got worse when I found a statement for an old credit card we rarely used. It had a balance of over $28,000. She had used it for expensive clothing, travel, and strange legal fees. When I showed her the statement, she didn't apologize. She launched into a furious counterattack, accusing me of stalking her and invading her privacy. The argument lasted for hours, and she refused to give a single concrete explanation for the debt. The next massive lie was the Chicago trip. A critical 4-day conference, she said. It was the longest we'd been apart. I felt lonely, but proud of her. On the second evening, I called the hotel just to send flowers to her room. The receptionist searched her system and told me politely, "Sir, we have no record of a Sarah Alex checked in for those dates." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. It was confirmed. My wife was a liar. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I had to know the full extent of the damage. I contacted my college friend, Mark, who specialized in financial law. I laid out the entire timeline, the cash, the secret credit card, the lies about travel. Mark was calm, but direct. "Alex, this isn't cheating. This is premeditated financial maneuvering. She's either preparing for a huge financial move, or she's leaving you. You need to secure every one of your assets, now." Following Mark's advice, I spent 2 sleepless nights going through every file on our shared computer. I finally found a hidden folder deep within a subdirectory labeled Taxes 2020. Inside was the explosive proof, a new home mortgage agreement. It wasn't our house. It was the address of a small coastal town, 300 miles away. The interest rates were aggressive, and the borrower was Sarah, but with her maiden name, which she hadn't legally used in years. She hadn't just been planning to leave me, she was creating an entirely new, financially separate identity. The documents included a deed and a note about a key safe code. I felt like I was going to throw up. My whole reality shattered. My wife, my partner, had been building a secret life on the side, funded by our shared account. I didn't say a word when she finally walked through the door. I just watched her, this stranger who looked exactly like the woman I married. The next morning, I told her I had a complex all-day client meeting, took the car, and began the 300-mile drive to the coast. I was driving toward the absolute destruction of my marriage. I didn't know if I would find a lover, a mountain of stolen cash, or just an empty house. But I was going to find out the truth. The drive took nearly 5 hours. Every mile was fueled by a cold, hard sense of purpose that had replaced the crushing grief. I finally reached the small, coastal community. The house was charming, a modern, minimalist cottage that screamed single, independent woman. It was a complete stylistic rejection of the life we had shared. Using the key safe code I found in the documents, I retrieved the front door key. I had to brace myself before turning the lock. Stepping inside, the air was different. It smelled of expensive candles and new paint. There was no sign of another man, but what I saw was more damning than infidelity. This house was a sanctuary for one person, Sarah, the new person. The furniture was sleek, cold, and utterly unlike the warm wooden pieces we had chosen together. In the closet, there were racks of brand new, expensive clothes. I found an office area with bank statements, utility bills, and even a new driver's license application, all using that different last name. This was not a fling. This was a total secession from our marriage. It was an emotional and financial betrayal of the highest order. I spent an hour documenting every receipt, every piece of evidence, taking hundreds of photos and videos. I drove back, exhausted and hollow. I went straight to Mark's office. He reviewed the evidence, and his face grew grim. "Alex, she's in deep trouble. Not just legally, but ethically. We will file for divorce, and we will use this second property and all that debt to minimize her claim on your assets." That night when Sarah walked in, I was waiting. I didn't shout. I simply slid the divorce papers across the kitchen island. She picked them up, her eyes wide with confusion, and she whispered, "What is this?" I looked her dead in the eye, my voice steady, and said, "Tell me, Sarah, how was that $4 day trip to Chicago?" The look of sheer, cold panic on her face was all the confirmation I needed. She completely collapsed, not into tears of sorrow, but tears of rage and self-pity. She confessed everything. She felt trapped, smothered, and needed a safe place to land, while she figured out her next move. I just listened, knowing her confession was meaningless now. The legal battle that followed was hell. Her shark of a lawyer demanded half of everything: the marital home, my investments, and a hefty sum of spousal support, painting her as a homemaker victim. But Mark was prepared. During the mediation, he waited until her lawyer had finished his aggressive demands. Then, Mark stood up and presented the bombshell documents. "Counsel," Mark stated, "before we proceed, these documents show that your client, Sarah, has been engaging in financial waste of marital assets. This includes over a year of cash withdrawals, $28,000 in undisclosed credit card debt, and most significantly, the secret mortgage payments on a coastal property she purchased without my client's knowledge." The room went silent. Sarah's lawyer flipped through the papers, his confidence dissolving into disbelief. Mark finished the execution. "We will be deducting the full cost of that second property, plus all associated debts and missing funds, directly from her portion of the marital estate." The financial blow was devastating. All the money she had siphoned away, all the costs of the secret house, it all came out of her share. She left the marriage with the debt-ridden coastal cottage she had meticulously planned, and almost none of the liquid assets she had tried to steal. She cornered me in the hallway afterward, her eyes burning with pure hatred. "You'll regret this! You ruined my life!" I finally allowed myself one moment of honesty. I leaned in and said, "I already regret trusting you, Sarah. That is the only regret I will ever have. I retained my home, my savings, and most importantly, I regained my peace of mind. The secret life Sarah had built to escape me ultimately became the financial prison she was trapped in.